of the Council of Chapter Presidents. Yep, and as president of NoCal. She also serves as a member of the Council of California County Law Librarians, which works to improve, promote, and advocate for services provided by county law libraries. She is the assistant director at California's San Francisco Law Library, and prior to that role, she was a librarian at Hassard-Bonington. She received her bachelor's from San Francisco State University and her MLIS degree from San Jose State University. Joining Diane is Stacy. Stacy is an MLIS student at San Jose State University and NoCal's very first student trustee. She currently works for the San Diego State University as a coaching and training consultant for government social services agencies, as well as on the executive committee of the Special Libraries Association SJSU student chapter, assisting with membership programming. In past years, Stacy has enjoyed her time developing curriculum and teaching courses in the areas of racial inequality, sociology, and child welfare. So both Diane and Stacy are first-generation professionals, and the two are going to be chatting in this session about Diane's journey to becoming a prominent leader in the field of law librarianship. If you have any questions that you'd like to ask during the session, please feel free to put them in the chat. You also are welcome to chat me directly if you'd prefer that your question remain anonymous. I will just ask the question without identifying you if you prefer. So thank you, Diane and Stacy, for joining us today. And I'm going to turn the conversation over to you now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are you able to hear me okay? Okay, perfect. I got new headphones, so I wanted to make sure they were working properly. Hi, Diane. Nice to see you again. How are you?
Hi, Stacy. I'm great. Thanks. Great to see you again as well.
Good. So I thought I'd start off with a broad question, right? I think it comes to mind whenever we start a conversation like this. Tell me why law librarianship for yourself?
Well, that goes way back in my history, back to 1989, when I moved to San Francisco to go to San Francisco State, and I was looking for a librarian job, assistant job, of course, in those days. And I was just looking all around, and I guess I had intended to pursue a career in public libraries. And so I was thinking I should probably find a position there. But the first thing I found was a position as an assistant, a library assistant at the Bank of America legal department. And I went on an interview there, and that was my my introduction to law libraries. I was like, what is this? I had no idea that law libraries even existed, but they ended up hiring me, and it was an amazing experience. The two librarians there at the time, Trish McCurdy was the reference librarian and Lori Flynn was the director, both wonderful NoCal members. And they took me under their wing and introduced me to the world of law librarianship. And they could see I had a hungry mind, and they just taught me everything I've learned. They set me on this path and introduced me to fellow NoCal members, which I joined as a student. And I felt so welcome and so intrigued by this specialty subject area. And it just stole my heart and my mind, and I just kept with it.
Yeah, it sounds like you had some near and dear people close to you that really guided you on the way.
Yeah, I'm really lucky that way. I've found that to be the case with law librarians in general. Just about everyone I've ever met has been just incredibly welcoming and open to sharing everything they knew. And, you know, coming from my first generation professional background, not really having that kind of mentoring from my own family within. I mean, my parents were very supportive and always encouraging me to go and pursue my dreams, but I was never really encouraged to, you know, that going to college was a must, or that, you know, I could tap into other professionals to see how they did things. It was really just awesome to have people be so welcoming in the first place, just in that, you know, even my lowly assistant job of filing pocket parts and keeping the library in order and putting labels and stamps on everything. And believe me, it was everything, because those were pre-digital days.
Yeah, I hear you. And I found the same thing, Diane. I found that this is one of the few areas that I found myself in where everyone has been so welcoming and willing to talk to me and reach out to me and check in and ask, what is it that you're interested in? What can I help you with? Let's just meet for a chat just to kind of get to know each other. So I think it is something about the field itself, or maybe it's just the librarian kind of qualities that, if we all embrace that makes it so welcoming. I found that too, which is helpful for a first generation person embarking on this journey.
Absolutely. Just, I guess we're just information people that like to share. I mean, we would pretty much hand over anything we possibly could to, our patrons, and then it bleeds over into our colleague relationships and nurturing each other along.
It does, absolutely. So if you could go back, let's say 10 years, maybe even further back, thinking into your past, what are some of the things that you would say to yourself if you could do that?
Oh, I was thinking about this question because we had talked about this, Stacy, and 10 years isn't that long for me because I've been in this field now for 32 years, which just doesn't seem possible, but I'm older than I think. So 10 years ago, though, I was a solo librarian in a very small law firm specializing in medical malpractice and asbestos defense. And I supported at that time we had 2 offices and like 32 attorneys, and then there was me. And the fact that this small tiny law firm even had a full-time librarian was pretty amazing. But med mal defense research is really intense, so it was an awesome opportunity for me. But to think that someone like me in my tiny solo position could move forward and become involved in my national professional organization and continue to move forward is truly amazing. I think I feel so fortunate and lucky to have had, again, the mentors that I've had throughout NoCal and AALL, people embracing me and guiding me along. But some things that I would go back and tell myself, my prior self, would be, just dream big. It doesn't matter what your position is now, how you feel that you are in your current state. Maybe you don't feel that you have the most important job in the land, or maybe you feel like your position, has still a lot of growth left for you, and you're not at the top of your game just yet. But it doesn't really matter. Volunteering and getting involved really moves you forward in ways that nothing else would. I didn't have colleagues in my office to push me forward, so I had to find it outside. I would continue to encourage myself to reach out and try new things and take on volunteer opportunities that are uncomfortable. I find that I learn the most when I put myself into an uncomfortable position or volunteer on a committee or get involved with a group that does something outside of my field or my interest area. Right now I could say that I'm a semi-expert in public access and access to justice issues, but immersing myself in other areas, I'm learning more every day and all the time. And if you don't succeed the first time, don't be worried about trying again. I ran for AALL vice president-elect twice. The first time I didn't, make it, and it was fine. I was really thrilled that my colleague Greg Lambert won. I actually was heartbroken to find out I was running against him because he was born to be president. So I was thrilled to have the opportunity again, and rather than be concerned about failing again, just putting myself in that uncomfortable position of, well, what's going to happen? It all turned out okay. So I would tell myself to take risks. It's okay. It's a good thing.
I love that. I love all of those things that you mentioned. I think, thinking back on my 10 years ago self, I was probably just getting my second master's degree, right? I was in a PhD program and I didn't know what I was doing, right? I was just kind of going through the motions and not really reaching out to people and not taking those risks that you're talking about, and not just really building that capacity, right, for me to venture into somewhere. And
Right.
now 10 years later, I find that to be so true, right? You really do have to step out and kind of reach for things that are not your comfort zone or in your comfort level, and really just embrace all of those opportunities that kind of present themselves. So I think that's useful advice, right, for someone like me. I happen to be a little bit more non-traditional because I'm into my 40s and going into this kind of like mid-career that Delia was talking about earlier. But yeah, for someone who's just moving into this, really taking risk is important, and trying again, right, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes. Yeah, and you're trying again. You've taken a couple different career paths, and here you are, testing the waters with law librarians. I'm so excited that you're here with us and figuring out if this is a good step for you as well. So congratulations on taking that risk.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So moving forward, Diane, what do you think you want to take with you from your journey, continue on with? And what are some of those things you think you want to leave behind?
Okay, I was thinking about this one as well, and one of the things I would leave behind is the sense that attending California state universities for my degrees was somehow less valuable. There's a lot of, especially in the legal world, there's a lot of discussion about prestige. And especially when I was in the law firm environment, it was really, with the associates and things, it was, where did you go to school? And, where did you get your degree? And it mattered a lot. And going to California state universities, it was fine. Being a first generation professional, I guess I went where I could afford. I put myself through school, and it's really what you make of it. So it doesn't matter if you go to the most prestigious undergraduate university or the most prestigious graduate school for your library science degree or whatever it is that you might be studying. I think it really just depends on how you utilize the time that you have and make your connections and present yourself and try to seize those opportunities. So I would leave behind the lack of prestige that I felt as a younger individual. I would take with me my relationships with my colleagues. To me, those are the most valuable asset that I have in this profession. I really love my colleagues. I've learned so much from them, and I still learn from them every day. I can reach out to them on topical areas of, if I get a research request, I don't know what the heck that even is, I can reach out to someone I know who probably does and would guide me to first steps, as well as management style, or, I'm having trouble working with a staff member, or I don't know about a policy on how to deal with reopening my library. I can reach out to people that I know and get a good step forward with them. I would leave behind my intimidation feelings with some lawyers. When I first started in law firms, I was very intimidated working with law firm partners. Some of them really freaked me out. But then I learned that they're all just people too, and everyone works together. And so I would put that aside. But that's something you also gain with more experience. I still have that today in my public library. We have so many officials, legislators, and attorneys coming in. It can feel a little intimidating at times, but not like it used to. And I would take the encouragement that I've received from my mentors that you can really do anything you set your mind to if you work at it hard enough. And I would try to keep that in the front of my mind and pass it forward to others around me. Encouragement.
You remind me so much of the thoughts that went through my head as I kind of, started on, my academic career, thinking about the Cal State versus the UC or the private college. And it's so funny that, the voice sounds so similar, right? I went through all of that, oh, I need to go to a UC. I need to have this. I need to have that. Cal States are not up here, right, on this level.
Right.
And of course, now that, I've done all of that and I'm here now, it doesn't matter, right? I need to afford to pay for school, right?
Yes.
Now that, I have all of this in my past, I'm a working mother, I have kids, and it doesn't really matter. It really is about the connections that you make, right? And what you do with your time, how valuable it is for you, how you spend that. So I'm hearing a theme throughout what you've kind of talked to me about so far. And it's the people around you and what you've done with those resources that have really built you to where you are today. Am I interpreting that right?
Yeah, yeah, it really is. The community of NoCal and AALL has just really propelled me forward. And I hate to just sound like the total poster child for all that, but it's true. I don't know. I feel very fortunate to have these people around me. I try to nurture those relationships as well. And, it's a lot to juggle with getting focused on, as you say, you're a working mom. My kids just both went to college, so I'm suddenly finding myself an empty nester. So I have a little more time for these other things now. But you have to give back as much as you take and keep those relationships going and make new ones all the time. It's a hard juggling act though with the job and your life and trying to also keep all these professional relationships going, especially during COVID, because like the earlier program was discussing, the obstacles to having entry-level positions not being able to get the experience they need exactly from working online. Like, okay, you can do the tasks at hand, but what about those crucial relationships you develop with your colleagues and your coworkers, and just the water cooler chats about how do I do that, or what's the best method for this, that you're kind of missing out on. So those are things that are becoming more difficult. I think even more time consuming with what we're going through now, but it's still worth the effort.
Yeah, and that makes me think of my next question for you, thinking about those relationships and all of the nuances that come with being on site and kind of navigating the people arena, right? The social arena
Yeah.
with the folks around you, all of those little things that aren't textbook that you get, right? From just that interaction, interfacing with others in your job community. So paint me a picture of what your best day would be like or doing what you do.
Okay, so I have a lot of things to juggle as assistant director of the San Francisco Law Library. We're the public law library of the city and county of San Francisco, and we service not only the public, but solo practitioners, all the legislators and departments that work with us for the city and county. We answer prisoner letters. We work with a lot of different types of individuals. But first of all, my commute, it would be smooth and I'd have a good cup of coffee because I'm a coffee addict. Like right now, I'm working mostly remotely, but I do go into the library a few days a week because we're being a public library, we have a robust print collection as well as, digital online virtual services. And we still have to maintain that for when we're reopening, we'll be ready to go again. The director and I have been having fun sitting at a back table together in the afternoons, actually doing all the filing. It's kind of relaxing for us. But then in the morning, I would check in with our reference team and our tech services staff to see what's going on and what kind of projects are going on that day. We'd spend time working on maybe strategic directions with my director, trying to figure out what remote access is looking for us now, what more we could be doing, how we're going to reopen for the public. We're working on a collection shift while we're closed to move some of the stuff from our remote, well, it's just on-site storage, bringing it back upstairs. We're working on our rare book collection. We're assisting with city budget process. We operate as a department within the city, and we have certain funds that come from them for our rent and other things. And planning with our board of trustees on our library's governance and the direction of the library. I might have a call with AALL President Emily Florio and our executive director, Bonnie Ungapin, or another AALL group or colleagues about plans and issues affecting our members and directions we're heading in there. I might have an informal monthly lunch call, video chat with either my GLL colleagues, NoCal colleagues. I'm part of various groups and we meet monthly to share issues and just chat each other up and try to stay connected. I might help with reference questions. I'm still monitoring the reference desk with my reference team, and we work together to solve people's problems. I might back up my colleague, Aaron Parsons, who runs our virtual speaker program, and I sometimes help him monitor questions and things like that. I might spend some time working on legislative advocacy work for AALL, NoCal, or CCCLL, which you had discussed. I'm part of the California Council of County Law Libraries Legislative Advocacy Group, and right now we're working on trying to get the governor to keep us included in the next budget cycle for some additional funding. And I might spend some time working on access to justice tools and issues with the City and County of San Francisco legislators, departments, and our other community partners. We're working with a judicial council group on new tools that they're putting on the self-help page for the California Judicial Council, testing their pages and seeing how they would work for the public. So it's a real big mix, and it's never a dull day. And there's always, I've just learned something new every day.
Sounds like it. Whew. That was a mouthful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You really do keep busy. I think that's important to hear, though, right? For someone like me who is just starting out and really kind of has this old age vision about what librarianship is like, right? When I was growing up, we didn't have all of this digital stuff, right? There were no computers and internet and all of that. But now, because we do have all of the technology and the capabilities to work with people across the world, and we have so much at our fingertips. It's added onto the position lots of different experiences, right? And responsibilities, it sounds like. It's not just bookwormish,
yes.
right? Where you're kind of hidden in the book stacks. You may not even work in a place with book stacks, right?
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, and in fact, I was a reference librarian at the San Francisco Law Library. That was my first professional position coming out of library school. And I worked there for 5 years, and it was mainly in print. We had a couple of terminals that were dedicated to, I think it was Westlaw at the time, might have been Lexis too, but that was a very small portion of the service that we provided. Everything was in print, and I was, very familiar with just about everything under the sun, because we had a huge print collection then. But come back now, and it's so different. We're able to do almost everything that we can help people with virtually through databases, sometimes scanning in-house materials and providing those things to people via email. It's a totally different world, and we work with global law firms that have offices all around the globe, and they are able to email us, and we can help someone in Tokyo with bankruptcy sections or whatever. So it is truly a much more spread out and global task to do these things now versus just helping San Franciscans in the past with a lot of print resources. Come a long way.
Yeah, something to look forward to for me,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So what keeps you? What makes you stay is my next question for you.
Well, I'd say positive patron feedback, both from our law librarian colleagues and the public, really keep me motivated to keep moving forward. There's nothing nicer than hearing one of your patrons who is maybe getting kicked out of their apartment, notify you that the forms and resources that you provided enabled them to work through their problem and stay in their apartment, or they've been able to maintain custody of their child, or that's just super gratifying to me. I also, I really like the feedback of success in working on an advocacy project and having some, a good outcome, or just making new connections with the public in that way, and letting the legislators know what we're doing. It just feels really good to let them know that their constituents are being covered in ways that they're not even always aware of. I'd say participating in equal access to justice and serving all people in San Francisco is really satisfying, because there's just a great divide in legal work. between who can afford to actually get representation, who can provide representation, being solos and legal services. We help those people with their research and enabling them to help others as well, but also just, the community at large, and people not being able to afford to find representation, so they tend to represent themselves. I really like that idea of just serving all aspects of the legal community. And another thing that keeps me moving forward is introducing new people to the profession and encouraging them to test it out, get their feet wet. I have to say that in this last summer, I've had a couple of my old high school friends whose kids are now graduating from college and wanting to consider librarianship as a path. And I keep telling them how great law librarianship is. So we'll see, see if they take me up on it, but I'm inviting them to test it out.
That's wonderful to be able to leave a little bit of a mark, right? A little bit of an impression on those that come after, right? I love that.
Yes.
Sounds like you have a few different whys under your belt. When, we always think about, what is my why? Why am I here? And I've heard a few from you. So those are all great, especially the access to legal information. That's wonderful. And so I know we're running a little low on time. If you could wrap up with this last question, what do you think your colleagues or your workmates would tell me if I were to ask them about you? What do you think they would have to say?
I think that they would say that I'm very passionate about my career. I'm enthusiastic. I'm very encouraging to others. I try to be as positive as possible. And they'd probably say that hopefully they would say I have good taste in music, because I'm a big music fan, and I try to rope my colleagues who are also my friends into coming and dancing with me as often as possible.
I love that. I love that. You have to make time for fun, right? And when it's
Yes.
integrated into work, that's the best time for it, I think.
Yeah, yeah. I love being a part of the NoCal, what is it? The events committee, the networking committee is what it is. And, just coming up with fun events with Julie Horst was one of the highlights of my NoCal stint, I think. Just, working with her, she's so enthusiastic and awesome, and coming up with fun events like going to see a movie at the Roxy, or, I can't take credit for it, but I loved going when we all went to the shooting range and learned how to shoot together. That was a crazy fun time. I think it brought us all together in a new way, and we all learned something.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that would look like. All the librarians at the shooting range.
It was something different.
Sounds fun. Sounds fun. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us and sharing with me a little bit about your journey. I know there's so much more that we haven't explored, but I got a lot from what you told me today. So I really do appreciate it.
Thanks, Stacy. And it's really wonderful to talk to you again. And I look forward to seeing where you go with your path. I hope you join us, continue with us.
I hope so too. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Fabulous. Thank you so much, Diane and Stacy. We do have a couple of questions from the chat. So actually, Stacy, I'm going to turn this question to you, because I think all of us, me in particular, would love to learn about your experience as NoCal's very first student trustee. And so why don't you tell us a little bit about that? That would be great. And then at the beginning of your career as a law librarian.
Well, again, if you haven't gathered, that this is a brand new kind of undertaking for me. And I am at the point where I'm opening up to things that present themselves, right? I'm stepping out on those risks that Diane talked about, right? Those opportunities and networking. So my background is in academia, right? So I have social sciences is my niche. I have multiple degrees in African American studies and sociology, and I taught for quite some time. And currently, as you heard, I work in child welfare. So I do a lot of training and coaching and consulting work for CPS in different counties in Southern California. But my heart is really in some of that social justice that Diane mentioned, right? People having equal access and equity issues and, inequalities and inequality work and that type of thing. So when I heard about this opportunity, of course, it sent a light bulb off in my head, right? It had all the words, all of those, words to kind of reel me in. And I thought, hey, I know a little something about this, right? And I think I kind of represent diversity, right? Not in just my what I look like, but also in kind of the perspective that I bring, right? I do a lot of this work in my own personal kind of history and research, but also in my job right now, right? I ask a lot of questions around being responsive to cultural difference and diversity. So I thought, this would be a good opportunity for me to further explore and also hopefully influence others, right? By modeling or just having just normal conversations. I'm not a very direct person. I believe in just being present with folks, right? And you influence in that way. So that's kind of how it came to be.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Stacy. Well, I encourage if anyone else has any questions for Diane or Stacy, feel free to unmute yourself or put it in the chat. And so while you all are brainstorming those, Diane, I had a question for you. What are you most looking forward to next year as president of AALL?
Oh, there's many things to look forward to. I have to say, again, I've been well mentored by Emily Florio, who's our current president. She's awesome. And I really enjoyed working with her. She's always teaching me something new. Let's see, we have so many things coming down the pipe. I'm really looking forward to what's coming out of the IDEA Special Committee, which is the Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Awareness Committee. They're going to come out with their report for us in July. And when that happens, we'll be able to see what their recommendations are to work within AALL to promote more diversity and equity within every part of the organization, from the way our bylaws are written to coming up with a new inclusion policy, to figuring out how we can incorporate more parts of these things into all of our committees and our the pipeline that is being looked at with the law librarianship as a career special committee. They're working on pipeline issues for how to bring new people into the profession. I think that's going to be really exciting. And I'm also hoping to bring some access to justice issues to the forefront a little bit, of course, but I think that will play a part with, just about everybody in our organization. I mean, everybody plays a part in access to justice, whatever institution type you're in, and just highlighting those efforts and hopefully maybe doing a little more outreach to the public and bringing awareness to our career path and the resources and knowledge we provide.
Fantastic, great. So a couple more questions, if you don't mind. We have about 10 minutes left in this time slot. We'll see if we can get a few more questions to fill it up. But Diane, one thing that we did want to ask about was networking. Both of you have talked a lot about networking and how important it is. What suggestions do you have for finding your network, whether it's within your organization, within like a small organization like NoCal, within the broader AALL organization? What tips do you have for finding people to network, finding people to talk to, finding people who can give you that guidance that that you're looking for?
Well, I would say volunteering is a really great way to get your foot wet in that. If you can just volunteer for just about anything that comes your way. NoCal has a lot of opportunities for volunteering. There's a lot of committees. You can just look at the website and look at the committees and the charges and see what tickles your fancy. You can contact the chair and ask them what they're working on and see if it's something you're interested in. But just putting your name out there as a willing participant, will get you involved in meeting new people. And again, I'd encourage you to even think about volunteering for something that you're not so familiar with, because those, step outside your comfort zone, and then you might meet a whole new group of people. The same with the national organization. It's exactly the same. There's a call for volunteers every year. And if you can check that box on that volunteer application that says volunteer for any committee, you're more likely to be placed, and you might, find some new passion that you never even knew you had. But there's a lot of opportunities. I'd also encourage people to consider either being a mentor or finding a mentor. And in the past, NoCal had a mentor program, and I'm not sure if there's still a formal one within NoCal, but there's a formal one within AALL, and you can get a mentor or become a mentor, and it's really rewarding. And I think it's so interesting to, learn what young people are doing. I'm very interested in reverse mentoring now, because there's just so much new stuff that I don't know. And with my kids gone off to college, I don't hear the latest all the time.
Oh, that's great. Well, then I think this is a great opportunity to ask Stacy about reverse mentoring and what her thoughts are about that.
That's the first time I've heard of it described that way. But it really is true, right? There are some, I don't particularly consider myself part of the young generation. I know people do, but I don't see myself that way, because everything is so new right now. I look at my kids and I'm lost, right? And I'm like, teach me how to use my phone and that kind of thing. I kind of came about right on the cusp, right, as everything started to explode technologically. But yeah, I think that is a good place to learn, right? Really looking at what the new folks are coming up with, right? And what's out there, and some of the things that we've missed being in our traditional kind of mindsets, right? And being able to think innovatively. I think that's something that is really important. But yeah, I think all of those things that Diane mentioned, really stepping out there and volunteering for things, is a good way to network. And so that's something that I've learned how to do as I've gotten older. In the beginning, I was probably a little shyer, or I gravitated towards the things that I was most comfortable with. And I think it is important to kind of step out of that and say, you know what, I'm going to be okay with not knowing, right? And learning, and kind of put myself in a place of a learning environment versus a knowing environment. And I think that's where the growth happens, and that's where relationships are built. Yeah, so I agree.
Fabulous. Well, I think that's all of the questions. Unless anyone has any others, I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. Well, thank you so much, Diane.